Hi, it is Katie
Hi.
from BecomeAGroupGuru.com. I'm here with Anya Surnitksy, awesome therapist and friend. So thank you so much for being here, Anya. I love your colors.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm so excited.
So, side note, Anya and I did an awesome weekend workshop last weekend where we got together with 6 therapists. It was really fun. We have some new things on the horizon, but today we're here to talk about Anya's groups, and I'm really excited to hear about them. Give us your intro. Tell us who you are, what you do, what you're all about.
Well, this was a good practice for me because I actually worked on this at our weekend thing. Uh, my name is Anya Surnitksy, and I'm a therapist. I don't know where to look.
That's why I sit far back. So I
I
don't.
know. Well, I'm trying my best to look in the camera. So I'm a therapist in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, right outside Philadelphia. And I work with adults who generally present with anxiety, but don't know what's going on beneath the surface. So I'm actually working on a graphic in Canva that's like an iceberg to really show that people don't really know why they're coming in. They have anxiety, panic attacks, worry, not feeling good enough, and they really want to address why that is. And so once we figure out what is bugging them underneath, I have groups, I use EMDR, and a lot of the Daring Way work based on the research of Brene Brown to kind of help, dissolve the iceberg, really. And so people can really feel like they're in control of their lives and not their anxiety.
I love it. Everything you said, I want to highlight already some of the amazing things that you're doing. So, the idea that you almost have to teach people why they're coming to therapy, and it's not like uncommon for people to feel sad or anxious and not know why and not really have the words for it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like that's part of what therapy helps with. But I think if somebody's calling and they don't know what to say, like they need some kind of conceptualization of that. So you're like teaching them what it is they need and how they need to receive that support before they even come to the office.
Sometimes they do know, but a lot of times they're really not sure. Like they don't know what they need. They don't know what's going to be helpful. Like when I ask them, what would a successful therapy experience look like for you, or where do you want to be when you leave here? They really have no idea. No idea.
Yeah. And I think that makes it so much more challenging to market to them in general. Like I know with my population, I find it easy because they have clear problems and I have a clear path to solutions for some of that suicidality and self-harm and things like that. But when there's a less clear problem, or even if we don't want to call it a problem, we want to call it something else, like it's harder to market to. So I guess let's use that to lead into like you're talking about your men's and women's process groups. What do they look like? What kinds of clients show up for them? Like give us the general overview and then we'll go deeper from there.
Okay, so it probably would be helpful to tell you how they formed. I have this weird piece of hair happening here. I started groups in private practice just running the Daring Way, which is a curriculum based on the work of Brene Brown. It's generally an 8-week curriculum. And when I was trained, I really was faithful to the curriculum, wanted to learn it, wanted to feel comfortable. And now I pretty much memorize the videos. So I really made it my own. But back in the beginning, when we started, some of the first groups, like they didn't want it to. We're like, no, we can't stop meeting. This is impossible. And so we made it into a process group. And so we just changed it. And so it was kind of an alumni group. And then when I left my group practice and opened my own private practice, they came with me and we just kind of morphed it into an open women's process group where the core members are still alumni, but now we have new members who've joined. And so the same thing happened with the men's Daring Way. With my men's process group was a men's Daring Way group. So some of the members, none of the members wanted to leave, but one member moved to California, so obviously couldn't stay.
Yeah.
But the rest of the members, rest of the men, really, if I didn't close the building, they'd still be there talking. They would just move in and live there and never leave. So
they value the space and the connection so much that it keeps going.
Yeah. I'm like, guys, like I have to go home. Like I've locked someone in the building because I didn't know they were in the bathroom because I just want to leave. Because I'm like, I just want to go home. Please respect my time boundary. So it's like really funny how the men are so talkative and they really do value it. And as we go into talking about the groups, I can actually tell a story from this week because it was probably one of the most powerful groups I've ever been in. So it was really amazing. So basically, I've come to realize that the groups that I form really need to start structured and go to something more open. That's how they build cohesion. I mean, that's how it's worked for me. And so I kind of am just embracing that as my formula now to start structured and go to open. But then, I guess now, I guess I can't do that too many times because I'm not going to have enough time to make these different process groups. But I do want to do something with like younger professionals because my women's process group is really older women, like midlife, like 50 and older.
Yeah.
And my men's group is 30 to 50, but I'm really missing that like younger professional women's group. I just haven't been as successful getting that off the ground with everybody interested at the same time. So that's kind of been my challenge with that.
So, and I'm curious about your like start structured and then expand from there process, because when I started my first teen group, I started it as like structured activities and then it just evolved into a process group. But now I invite new people in and they're just invited into a process group. So are you still enrolling new members as a process group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have done that and it's worked well because I think that there's a little structure, not much, but because there's kind of like a group norm and a routine and just the way that we do things, and there's already cohesion among the other members, then the new members kind of understand what they're supposed to be doing or saying or acting like to be in the group.
Agreed. I think like once the majority of group is socialized to the process, like someone coming in just catches on and it's fine.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't want to wait. Tell us the story of the powerful thing that happened in group this week.
Oh my God. So some of the members are like really pretty much best friends. And they talk about that in group, like they rely on each other and not in a way that's exclusive, like other members would feel left out or anything. It's just, some people bond, they've been there longer and they, are in similar life stages. So these two guys were sitting on the couch together and this one guy who's kind of like the group leader, he always talks about bringing his representative. It's a Glennon Doyle Melton term where it's like you bring like these fake parts of you he's like the group leader and he's very supportive and he remembers everything everybody says and always circles back to them. But then he never really reveals what's going on with him. So this week he kind of just, we always give him permission to leave the representative outside and just bring him and what he needs to do. But it's been really hard. So this week he kind of just let it all out. And he was sobbing, like heaving, sobbing. And the other guys were just kind of there and like holding the space for him. And then he reached out and held his friend's hand.
Aww.
And for men to do this, like it was so amazing. I mean, and there is a gay man in the group. These two are hetero, but it wasn't like that. It was just like how you hold a friend's hand. And the men in the group tend to be very sensitive, emotional, introverted. And he held his hand for probably like 20 minutes.
That's amazing.
And then at the end, they were like laughing about it and talking about it and like processing what that was like for them to be able to hold hands in a group and have it be okay.
I want to cry.
I know. It was unbelievable. And then one of them was like saying if they did that anywhere else, people would be like, oh, that's so gay, man. And they were like laughing about it. And so it was like the most beautiful moment that it's gotten that safe in the group that someone can like heave and sob and hold someone's hand and as men. And it's just, that's why I love the men's group because they don't have a place to do this anywhere else. And it's just, I guess there's just, I get speechless. I don't even know how to talk about it.
Well, and it's so
So
exciting because like we talked to April Snow on Tuesday, who does highly sensitive people persons groups, I don't know. Um,
yeah,
and she said the majority of her groups, if not all of them, are women because it's hard to get men to buy into like, I am a highly sensitive person because society has put this shell up around them. And I said to her, like, I'm excited to talk to you and see what the men's group looks like. And it
yeah.
sounds like you really created this space where it's okay to tap into that sensitive side and to let it out.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because sometimes they ask for more structure. So like usually we just jump into sharing and they have their rhythm and routine and we try to give equal time for each person. There really isn't like we've tried to do a check-in and then it doesn't really work. The last time I showed a video of something, a Brene video about something, I don't even remember. And it was great and it was good and it helped them talk about stuff, but um, like they'll ask for structure, but then what they really want is just to talk and share and process and give feedback. So it's like this balancing act. I'm like, I have an activity if you want to do it. Like I have a video. If you guys just tell me what you want, like I'm trying to be responsive to what you want. You're saying you want structure, but really you need more time to talk. So
Right. What I found, like with my one teen group, that they're all high school seniors now and they've been together since they were freshmen. Basically, one went off to college last year, where like they really they don't want activities. They're like, Katie, we're not your activity group. Like we just want to talk. I almost feel like I'm at a sleepover every time I'm in this group. But then if I put an art activity in the middle of the table, like we sit around a little round table, they'll talk, but they'll do the activity too. Like they want to just connect, but sometimes they want to be busy and connect at the same time.
right, right. Yeah. So and they hold each other accountable. They'll call each other on each other's shit. Like they you know, it's not just like kumbaya all the time. One of the newer members called out the guy who was crying like about a month ago or 6 weeks ago because he wasn't being real. And this guy was pretty new and he's like, you know, you're telling this to everybody and like it's so, you know, you're such a support and um you're not really doing that yourself. Like
He did.
so it was so powerful because no one really challenges this guy because he's kind of like the group leader, and he's been like a peer support person like through his church in the past, so he's really good at knowing how to finesse it, you know. But someone held him accountable and it really was a turning point for him in being able to go deeper in group. Like someone was like, we're not going to let you do that anymore.
I love that. It sounds like it really did help because then he was able to go deeper.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I've been toying with starting another men's group because one person is actually leaving. His goal when he came in was to move. And so he finally got a job in Asheville, actually. So I want to connect him with all of our Asheville therapist friends. So I'm like, there's like a million therapists in Asheville. And so he's leaving. So people were in tears about that they were so happy he reached his goal, but sad that it meant that he would leave. And we had to process the loss of that, even though it's not happening for a month. But we only meet every other week. So there's only 2 more groups until he leaves. So we're going to have like a Thanksgiving, like a gratitude, goodbye kind of thing. Um, so we will have an opening, but it's just such a delicate, like, balance of people that not everyone is a good fit. And so if I get more referrals, like I may start a new men's group and figure out like just do a new men's daring way and then a different, like maybe on the opposite Tuesday. I'm not really sure about timing, but figure that out because these guys really, you know, they've said like, we don't have time to hear from anybody else. We can't have anybody else in this group.
No, that's so well. I have a couple questions, but also a
Oh,
couple.
sorry.
So you're good. Everything you're saying is amazing. Like
Okay.
I'm curious about well, one, like the group I was just talking about, most of my groups are 8, but this one is down to 5 because I feel like I'm rushing them. They need so much more time to unfold. And so I've just decided to ride it out through the end of the year. Then they all go to college and then I'll just start fresh. I think
Right.
sometimes we need to be flexible, even within like our own ideas of what group needs to be, because they need it to be something too. But my question for you is like, why the decision to do every other week? And do they like that? Does that work? How did that happen? And what is it like?
Both of my groups, my process groups, are every other week, because some people do their own individual therapy too, and it's just, people have kids, people have lives, and other commitments. So, and I know that, like, they're very committed to group, but it's just too much to do every week. And my groups are also my men's group is 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So and my women's group is 2 hours. So it's really the same amount of time, like if I did an hour each week versus 2 hours every other. So in that time we go really deep. Mm-hmm. So and I think that they sometimes need 2 weeks to process what's happening.
Yeah.
So I have them set an intention at the end of group, the men and women. And then sometimes it's helpful to check in on how that went, like your intention for the last 2 weeks. Were you able to, set boundaries with your spouse or whatever, or, how did that go? And so it's a good check in, check out structure that can help kind of just launch us into processing.
I love it. Okay. So, and I think that makes sense with busy adults with families and kids. Like they're committed, they're showing up 2 hours or 2.5 hours every other week, but it's instead of like finding that childcare, that time in their job or whatever every single week, especially if they have other therapies. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And like, some of these people have been in group like this for 2.5 years with me.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. And they're committed. They come. It's kind of like an extension of family, I think, at this point, like the group. So it's not going anywhere. So, I mean, in that sense, it just works, I guess, that way.
I think that makes sense. One of my teens on Tuesday said, "This group is like my second family. I dread the day when I won't have to come here anymore." Yeah. So nice. I'm like, I'll always be here. You can still come, but
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like it becomes like a second little family and this safe place. I always say like it's a place to come home to, even though it's not your home. So like I think people feel that emotionally. There's this space of help for them there.
Yeah.
Tell us about your favorite group activity with any of your groups.
Well, I have a few. So with the guys, a lot of the people I work with are really not sure how other people see them or how they see themselves. Or they see themselves like much more critically, of course, than other people do. So I made like I took construction paper and I folded it almost like a fan. And so we sat at the table for this, and each person wrote like 3 to 5 words that describe each person. So like the person would write their name at the top, fold, and then the next person would see the name and write like, passionate, ambitious, loving, or whatever. And then the next person would fold, like see the name and fold and whatever. So when they got their paper back, it was like, 20 to 30 words that describe them. And the guy, like, so this was with the men's group, and they still have it and they talk about this all the time.
So cool.
And so they really, really loved it. And some of them were like afraid to read it. Like, even though the directive wasn't like, it was like neutral or positive. It wasn't like, we're not going to, say like, well, you have a problem with like.
Right. It wasn't going to be critical or even constructive feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a really powerful activity. Another one, I took a deck of cards and I assigned like a question or a prompt for like face cards. If you get a face card, it means you have to like tell someone in the group what you've learned from them. If you get a number card, like 1 to 5, you have to name that many things we don't know about you in the group. Like an ace would be something like just assign a prompt to each one. And I think that for a group that's been going on, like to have a prompt where it say something we don't know about you, like that's hard, but for a newer group, that could be a great thing to like break the ice. Yeah. So you can kind of assign prompts based on where the group is. And it's kind of fun and unpredictable and like, so like that. So that was a really fun one. Another one I like to do is a lot of what I do is like how we want to be seen and not seen. Like that's just a theme in so much of the work. So
Yeah.
I take my sand tray figures and I have them pick representatives. Like I assume everyone's familiar with like sand tray figures.
I
And
am.
then yeah. So I have them put them on the table and then explain why they chose their figure. Um,
I do that too in my group.
yeah,
And choose
yeah,
and I do like both, like how they think they're seen by others and how they see themselves, and then are they matched? And then I kind of have the group say like whether or not they agree with how they see themselves or how they think they're seen.
yeah, yeah. So those are like my favorite group activities. I mean, I do a lot of psycho ed, so I have a lot of videos.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of that. That's just almost like goes without saying in my groups. So I don't know if everybody does that or not, but I use videos a lot.
How do you show your videos? I use a projector, but like I kind of want to just hang a TV in my room for ease. I don't know. So how do you like? What do you do?
I use my laptop because I meet in like the living room where I work in a converted house. So it's a really small, cozy area. So I just put my laptop on like a stool or something with a speaker. But,
It works.
you know, I mean, I would like something probably a little fancier down the road, but for now it's fine.
I feel like if something works, it works. So we don't need to like mess with it until we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of our time. I could talk to you forever. We are talking tomorrow about other
Yeah.
things, and I'm excited. I have lots of ideas to talk to you about, but I have a client at 2. So
Okay. Oh,
we have a couple minutes. You don't need to rush, but give us like your top tip, your favorite thing about groups, something you'd want other people to know about running groups. What?
I think my clients have really appreciated self-disclosure in a way that's appropriate. I work with adults, so it's different than maybe with teens.
I share a lot. Like they know a lot about my life.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of clients comment like that they really appreciate when I share about things. If I've gone through it, if it's part of my story I've worked through, if if it's just relevant. So I think that really builds trust from like facilitator to the group. So that's one thing. Like, don't be afraid to self-disclose, but not obviously in a way where they have to take care of you. Like, it's just in a way that like you're sharing with them as another example of a topic or whatever. Or if it's a hard topic, to go first as a therapist to model what that would look like. And like, I'll share my stuff. And I always talk about like working on stuff with my mom because it's just a constant chronic issue that I work on. So it's always just good material for me to draw on. Right. So that's one tip. And then, I guess another tip is just don't be afraid of doing groups in general. And, don't be afraid of the silence. That like, it's okay. It can be awkward, but just maybe act like it's not. And that's just a part of the process too. I don't find that like now even with my women's group, we had some moments of silence last week, but it was very peaceful because they know the rhythm and the routine. They don't feel like it's awkward, but maybe in the beginning of a group, it could feel like, oh my God, like who's going to talk next? Oh my God. And so just like, let it go, and just roll with it. I think, like I heard your thing with Mallory, like very flexible. Just because I think group members can definitely know if you're tense or nervous, and just I think being relaxed and modeling that is really important.
I would agree. And I think that like the silence in the beginning, it becomes like our stuff as a therapist. Like, am I doing this right? Are people enjoying it? Oh my God, everybody hates this. So like, at least I know I've been in that position where I start to catastrophize the silence, but that like learning that the silence feels like safe and secure and appropriate and it's okay to not have to talk, I think is an important part of group too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a good tip for sure. In terms of Daring Way, I know we have a couple Daring Way facilitators in our group guru group. Would you recommend it to people? Did you find that it was like a good process for you? I know you use a lot of Brené's work, so is that something like, did you find that experience powerful, I guess, or important?
I do. I mean, it's a foundation of my work, and it fits so much with like anxiety and EMDR and shame with the people that I see. When I was trained, the training was a lot different than it is now. And I really loved the training then. It was like a 5-day training in Texas, but now I think it's 2 days in person. So, but it took me a while to get to know it and really absorb the material. So it's almost like it's just second nature. I mean, I can just talk about it
Yeah.
and kind of know where to weave it into things and where it applies and when to pull a module out. But it took me some time to do that, I guess, as it would take you time with any skill or thing you're learning. I mean, it works for me. It's great. I love it. It gives me like such a pivot point. Then I love metaphor, and it's all about metaphor. So I use that a lot, and it just works for me. And I think it's finding that thing that lights you up inside, like your DBT, and like that's just like, everything for you. And that's how I feel about Daring Way and EMDR. It's like my foundation of my work.
Like the lens through which you act, but it doesn't. So like I agree with what you're saying. Well, number one, I feel like I'm learning Renee through you, which I love because I feel like connected to you as a person. So hearing it like through your lens and your voice makes sense to me. So I'm not learning that stuff from her as much as from you, and I love that. And I think that that's an important note because not everybody is going to learn like DBT or Daring Way or be responsive to EMDR from like anyone. It's not about particularly the orientation that you're working from, but also the connection with that person who's providing it.
Right.
But then I feel like as many years as I've been doing DBT, every time I go back to it, I learn a new way to connect with it, and then it makes sense in a new way in my work. So I feel like, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but like everything you just said makes total sense to me and how I work and how I do things.
Oh, absolutely. Every single time I go back to like the gifts of imperfection, I learn something new. Like I get something new out of it. So yeah, absolutely. It's not like it's dead material. Like I'm always getting more out of it.
Yeah. I had a little loop too. We have things going on with our hair. All right. Well, you have been awesome. So I'm going to do like a couple plugs here at the end. Number one,
Okay.
the 6 continuing education credit course ends tomorrow. Enrollment ends tomorrow. If you want to learn about group screening activities, how to do the intake process, tons of group ideas and activities, go ahead and click the green button and check that out. Also, stay tuned because Anya and I will be offering some amazing workshops in the future for therapists. We really talked this past weekend about a little bit of what Anya said today, figuring out like what parts of your story to share in the therapy room and in your marketing, and we'll continue to evolve in what we're offering because we evolve as people. So this is not the last time you'll see us together. And Anya, thank you for being here. I'm excited to connect more and hear more about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Bye,
Bye.
guys. Bye, Anya.
Bye.